Thanks so much for joining us for this February Remnant Counselor Collective community gathering. Some of you were here in January for our first kind of kickoff. Some of you may be new to the community gathering. Either way, welcome to you each. And I want to get started with sharing just briefly who we are, and then we will have a conversation about some important topics this evening, and then we're going to jump into kind of demonstrating a little bit about Remnant Counselor Collective, kind of on the software side, so you can see a little bit of what the features can do for you to kind of generate ideas for you as we get moving. Andrew, if you want to go to the next slide, I will introduce all of us on the RCC team. So I'm Dr. Brian Fiddler. We also have Luke Burgett, Dr. Andrew Wichterman, and Melissa Wichterman as well. We introduced ourselves a little bit last time, just told you a little bit about ourselves. And we are happy to jump in and do that. But I want to, if you have any questions as we get going, but I want to jump really right into our topic for this evening. So we'll talk through an important issue for all of us, of course, is counselor wellness. So how do we take care of ourselves and ways that we can kind of think about that, including through a biblical lens, and want to have some discussion for us. So we can kind of engage that as a group and then jump into talking about the platform. Okay, Andrew, we're ready. So, of course, most of us have heard of, and we certainly understand the topic of counselor wellness. Kind of what do we mean by counselor wellness? There's quite a bit of research over the past couple of decades around counselor wellness, really on this idea that, it's not a novel idea. We got to be well if we're going to be able to do our work well, but why do we need to be well? And really, counselor wellness is about not only personal care, but it's also part of our professional identity as counselors. And it's also something that for most licenses, mental health care licenses, is an ethical consideration. I hold an LPC and an LMFT license, and both of those, we in Missouri at least, we abide by the ACA Code of Ethics, and there are elements of taking care of ourselves, personal wellness. It's kind of baked into our ethical identity as therapists. I love this quote by Brubaker and Sweeney, who are well-known authors in this area. They say that wellness, and just listen to this and imagine your own profession and work as a counselor. It should permeate the work of professional counselors. It should permeate the work of professional counselors across all specialties. And this is, I love this quote for a couple of reasons. It's the heart of what we want to do here at Remnant, in that we want to provide a space that we can be encouraged and have permission to take good care of ourselves, to focus on wellness, to be involved in confessional communities and involvement with others within the field and the profession that can encourage our own hearts and work, but also the fact that it should permeate the work of professional counselors. And I want to spend a little bit of time exploring that idea of how would this permeate the work we do. So Sweeney, go ahead, Andrew, the next slide. Sweeney, as I mentioned, has done a lot of work in this area, and has created, Myers and Sweeney has created through research what's been called the Indivisible Self as a way of thinking about wellness. And so there's a lot, if you do research in this area, or if you Google counselor wellness, there are lots of models and ways of thinking about what we mean when we're talking about wellness, counselor wellness. This model is certainly not limited to our profession, but really just what does it mean, at least in one one viewpoint. What does it mean to be well in different domains? This is based on Adler's theory of individual psychology, but the research kind of elucidated these 5 domains of the self, and they labeled them creative, coping, social, essential, and physical. So I just want to go through this quickly, and I want you to think about how these different parts of your being, of yourself, how they're doing, or how you know how they're doing. How do you assess for that? How do you take care of yourself in these domains? So let me read you the factors in each of these. In the creative self, the researchers identified thinking, emotions, control, positive humor, and work. So again, just kind of give some thought to how well am I in these areas? How do I know? How do I take care of myself in these areas? The coping self involved realistic beliefs, stress management, self-worth, and leisure. The social self involves, according to the research, friendship and love. The essential self, the researchers identified spirituality, self-care, gender, cultural identity. And then finally, the physical self include exercise and nutrition. And then the authors also identified these contexts. And this is kind of an attempt to name the larger system that we're a part of, or systems really we're a part of, that of course influence how we are, how we're doing. So the local, what they call the local context, like our family, our neighborhood, our community. So just appreciate how your family relationships and dynamic, as one example, affect how you're doing, just your own sense of wellness in these different areas. And then reciprocally, how your wellness affects these areas. My wife and I have had these conversations where when my wife and I are good and we feel like we have security in our relationship, I kind of feel like I can conquer the world. I can take risks and make mistakes and fall flat on my face if I have to, knowing that I'm okay, I'm safe and loved in this relationship. But if I don't feel secure there, then that affects these other areas. And also, if I'm not doing well in terms of coping or work or my social sphere, reciprocally, it affects how I experience my marriage. We talk about our church community and how we really need that larger community in order to do okay in our marriage, et cetera. Institutional, we're all familiar with being a part of various institutions, be they education, religious. The authors identified religious as institutions, church communities, government, business, industry, all those we're part of. The global system, politics and culture and global events and media, and obviously things that deeply affect and impact us. Maybe we're aware of the impact how of this on our wellness more than we've ever been. Maybe that the global has become really close to us through the preponderance of the internet, that kind of thing. And then the authors identified the chronometric or lifespan factors, just saying that our sense of wellness is not static. Of course, it changes through time. So where we may have a sense of stress management, we may have made it okay there. If you change something, throw a kink in the works. In my practice, we had I don't know about the rest of you, but we had a huge ice snowstorm that came through, huge for us in Missouri at least, and it shut us down for 3 days. And as the owner of a business, that not only do I need to take care of my clients, but there's a financial hit there. And so how well am I doing with stress management, both in the macro, kind of through the themes of my life as I age, but also in those micro kind of week to week moments. Andrew, go ahead. I think we all know this to some extent, but I thought it might be helpful to name what happens in our work with clients when we're well, when we have a sense of well-being. And I think the very first thing is that we're able to model having an integrated well-being. We're able to show what it's like. to clients who feel maybe fragmented at any given time. We're able to offer a more secure, if you ascribe to attachment theory, a more secure and safe emotional attachment with our clients. We can attend to them more effectively. Even things like conceptualizing. I work with supervisees who, when they're pretty stressed, they have a hard time really thinking deeply and broadly about the clients they work with. But when they feel like they have margin and they have room, then they can think a lot more richly in the way they conceptualize with their clients. We can offer more creative and client-centered interventions. And then we can also extend those appropriate dynamic ethical postures. We can move more freely, I think, in our kind of ethical worldview and such. Okay. One more slide here on counselor wellness before I move into just talking about briefly a biblical perspective. One of the metaphors that's used in the literature on counselor wellness is that of and maybe you've read this or thought of it yourself, but a well, like I'm pouring out, and you all know if you're working with clients, you pour out of your own reserves when you see a client, when you meet with them. And so the question is always about how do we make sure we have enough reserves? How do we offer from a full reserve? And in the research, and I love this line, the second point, the amount of reserve is far more significant as an indicator of healthy water supply than the force of water at any given moment. So just the fact that we would have reserves. And then we are, as people, we are well as people to the extent that we have a wellspring, because overall wellness depends far more on our reserves than on our performance. And I just think that's such a beautiful sentence there in terms of our work as clinicians, that we can be more than our performance is how well we are based on the reserves we have. Andrew, go ahead. So the question is like, well, what do the scriptures say about wellness and reserves and offering from a deep well? And there are tons of scriptures that refer to this, and you all could add your own here. But two that just stuck out to me. I love Proverbs 4:23. From the heart flows the wellspring of life. And also in other versions say guard your heart, for out of it flows the wellspring of life. Isaiah 58:11, you'll be familiar, many of you, with this scripture. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. So there's something that the Lord is speaking to us here through Isaiah about a spring that's constantly fed, and out of our heart flows this wellspring. So what I want to do, as we move into the next slide there, what I want to do is to invite you all to share what are your reserves or well springs in your life? Thinking back to that indivisible self model and the scriptures invitation for us to have this wellspring, what replenishes the reserve for you professionally, personally? And then you can also think about, how do you, Proverbs 4:23, how do you guard your heart as a mental health professional? What does that mean for you? To guard your heart and kind of take care of that. Anybody want to volunteer? Any thoughts there? What are some of the well springs in your life?
I would say that connecting with colleagues who understand this kind of profession, right? Like I have a friend who's a psychiatrist and has similar values, and we can kind of riff back and forth and really just recenter, have some laughs, understand kind of what the profession is like and how to stay strong in it. Like battle buddies is a funny phrase that comes to mind, but I'm in private practice now, so I have to be more intentional about that.
Yes. I love that, Jeremy. One of the things in our practice that we do, we meet weekly to have kind of just a time to process. And of course, we're always mindful of confidentiality, but we might share a little bit of what we're experiencing as we work with clients, and we try to focus on that. Like, what are we going through not only how do we think about a case? And 9 times out of 10, we share something, and everybody around the room is like, "Yep, I know exactly what that's like," and it's so relieving. You're not so isolated there. That's so good, so good. Other thoughts there? What are the Wellsprings in your life? Vincent, hey, it's good to see you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Hey, Dr. Fiddler. It's good to see you all. We're a little late here, but I guess for me, it's my wellspring. And as you was talking about the scripture, just early in the morning reading the scripture, and that verse that comes out at you, like just jumps off the page
Yeah.
at you, and it speaks to you. It speaks, well, for me, it speaks to what I dealt with the day before. Like, it just helped me to understand that whole thing, because like the day before, I'm wondering like, man, like what is going on here, in a sense.
Yes.
And that verse just jump out at you, and it's almost like the Lord is speaking to your spirit,
Yes.
just to you. And so that's my wellspring, just being alone with the Lord early in the morning.
That's beautiful. I mean, that replenishes you. It sounds like, Vincent, whenever the Lord is speaking to you, kind of help organize, make sense of things. He's talking so personally to you.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Other thoughts here?
A couple I had was I have a Christian mentor that I meet with pretty regularly, and she's definitely been a wellspring, as well as making sure that I get just some time with worship on a daily basis, listening to some worship music or soaking worship is super helpful for me.
Love that. Yes. Thank you, Renee.
I would have to say, I'm a counseling intern right now, and Marissa, she's in the PhD program, but she is definitely one of my strengths. We're able to talk about, maintaining confidentiality, some of the struggles and some of the different things, but we've also started to recognize to maintain appropriate boundaries too, so that we have that time for each other that is outside of what our profession is now.
Yes. That's beautiful. Well said, Daniel. I'm just thinking about my wife and I, when we have the chance or make the time to sit knee to knee and just look at each other, and not on the device and away from distraction and work, and just share, like, how are you? What's going on in your world? There's something really enriching about that. That's awesome. We have time for one more thought. I love learning from all of you, how you kind of guard your heart, take care of yourself, fill your tank.
With me, it would be another peer at work, and she's a mental health counselor where I'm currently working, and I believe, and she believes as well, that the Lord placed us here, and we're incredibly close. And I love how she'll just stop me and ask me questions, and she'll just be like, just come in my office, and then we'll sit, and time flies when we talk to each other. It's like she's my personal therapist. And it's amazing. I need that because I don't have an outlet right now.
Yeah, there's something amazing about when the Lord brings two people together. I have a close friend that we can call each other, and we can say, "How's your heart?" and we have developed enough margin there with each other that we can be completely authentic in that. And Jeremy, he happens to be in the field, and so there's a lot of shared understanding as well. Well, thank you all. I want to love to continue the conversation, which on this topic we will do in the community in the weeks and months ahead once we launch. For now, I want to pass the mic over to Luke, because Luke has a lot he's going to share about the community itself and kind of the backbone in the online environment, and how we can create things that will help us to fill our tank, take care of each other, have community and connection. Luke?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for walking us through that. I mean, just lots of golden nuggets there to help us all with that. And you even mentioned, and I was thinking the same thing. I love learning from all you guys and your experiences of like your Wellsprings, what you find to be helpful. It helps me to hear from you guys, like what's working for you, and maybe there's ways that you find just encouragement, or that your tank is filled in a particular way that I'm not really sure how to move into that for my own, but maybe, just like hearing that, it's like, oh, there's that actually sounds interesting to me. I might pick your brain about that. That's one of the benefits to having space like this, where we're all kind of doing this similar work, experiencing the same kinds of things, and able to share and share experiences of what's working, and it just helps the whole community. So I want to do something a little bit kind of unique in order to show you, rather than just walk you through the platform and just point things out. I tried to create a few like user stories. So they're just like a little paragraph of like a fake user, and I'll kind of share their story, and then share how they might be able to kind of solve the problem that they're facing by using their membership in the collective here. So they're fake people. They don't actually exist, but they're, I think, pretty real like experiences that we all face, and just different, like a variety of ways that you could use your membership to kind of help with wherever you're at. And then things are going to shift and change, and the needs that you have from the community are probably going to shift and change. And so we hope that you'll be able to get a little bit of a glimpse into how to lean in here and find what you need from the community. All right. All right. So I'm just going to read these, and then I guess first here, I'll get my screen ready to share with you guys. Give me a second. Share. Perfect. Okay. So do you see this kind of dashboard here with my name on it? All right.
Yep.
Great.
We got you, Luke.
Cool. All right, so I'm just going to walk through these. I've got 4 user stories to walk through here. Okay, so first one, we're going to call her Sophia. So Sophia struggles with imposter syndrome and often questions her effectiveness as a counselor. By engaging RCC's peer-led discussion groups, Sophia can hear from others who have worked through similar doubts and gained confidence. She can find the support that she needs to move forward with confidence, and offer the same kind of support to others who understand what it's like to deal with imposter syndrome and other things. All right, so how might she dive in here? Okay, so when you first log in, the first screen you're going to be taken to is your personal dashboard, which looks like this. All right, and nobody else sees this. This is kind of a unique experience for you. And I went through kind of a long form video tutorial of the platform where I go a little bit more in depth on everything that's here on your personal dashboard. So I won't really spend time going through that here. You can find it on YouTube, and we'll share the link to get to YouTube if you want to learn more about that. But for you to know now, when Sophia logs in here, the first thing she's going to see is her dashboard. Okay, and so she's struggling with imposter syndrome. She might want to check out, first off, right, the member lounge. Okay, so if she comes up to the community, what she's feeling is like, I just need somebody to like get this. She can come here to the member lounge, which is just a group of every member that exists in the platform. Okay, and right now there's nobody because we haven't opened yet. But she could come in here and just say, like, I am really struggling with, and then go into some detail. Can anyone relate? Right, and then post it, and it's basically like a big Facebook thread where if I were to post that, I'll say relate, then somebody might be able to jump in here and post a comment in return, and just have a whole dialogue on that, right? And you go back and forth and say, what's helping you, what's working for you, and that's just one example, right? It's may not be imposter syndrome for you, it might be something else, but just a way to engage, right? When this community is growing, you have a whole community of people who are in the same field. Somebody in the community has probably wrestled through the same thing that you're walking through. All right, so just a way to connect. From there, though, I mean, that can get overwhelming if you're looking at a large group of people. So she might try to find something a little bit more intimate. So she can come up here to the groups and see what's available. So there's a lot of different groups. And so she might fill this out and just see what kind of group types are there, and find, this looks like it fits, personal support and encouragement, and then filter the groups, and then find counselor support group. Like, that sounds like a good fit, right? I'm dealing with something that's really like a personal struggle with my own kind of emotional experience in my profession. It would be really nice to be able to jump into a support group with other counselors. All right. So, and this is the same idea as the member lounge. It's just dedicated to only people who are looking for a counselor support group. Okay. So that's just one example. We'll move on to, let's call him James here. Okay. So James is overwhelmed by his growing workload and doesn't have enough time for self-care. RCC's resources include self-care strategies to help James identify where to focus in his self-care and to build a plan for taking care of himself. James can also attend a meeting much like this, where our events, where we're going to hopefully have these events 2 times a month. So that's always a place that you can come, and there will be some element of helping resource you to take care of yourself as a therapist, and some breakout time to discuss with people. So that's an option. But he could also join what we call a challenge that may be created, or he could create one himself to help motivate himself towards better self-care practices. So I'll kind of walk you through what that looks like. All right. So if he comes up here to community, he can find challenges. All right. And see what exists. There's like already a whole bunch of challenges. But if he doesn't find what he's looking for there, he could create a challenge and just create something for himself to help him stay on track. And then in his dashboard, he's going to see a list of challenges that he's accepted. And then he'll have like a growing kind of record of like things that he was struggling with, but then he challenged himself to do for a certain amount of time and then completed, just for motivation. Sometimes we need that just extra bit of motivation. And then he may want to share his story on that challenge. So let's click into this. Let's say he completed it, or maybe we'll go story here. Let's say he was really, struggling with self-care, but then he developed like a few strategies that are really working for him. A benefit to the community is for him to share his experience, because it guaranteed there's somebody else who's dealing with the same struggle. So he could come in and post a story, and then he could even connect it to that challenge, whatever challenge he created. He can find it here in this list. And then anybody else who took on that same challenge would be able to hear his story and his experience with that. Does that make sense? So in a way, it kind of just gamifies the experience in a way. Sometimes we just need those challenges and be able to get a badge for something, if we're really struggling in an area. Okay. All right, let's move on to number 3 here. So we'll call him Ethan. Ethan has developed effective strategies for working with clients with depression and wants to share what he's learned with other therapists. So he can publish his ideas in like an article or a video, or create a series of PDF documents to add to the growing library of resources for the community to learn from his expertise. He could even propose, and we're working on a kind of a process for this, but he could propose to submit an e-course concept. If he just clicks on contact us, he could fill this out and say, I'd like to build an e-course on, this strategy for working with clients with depression. It would have to go through an approval process, but just so you know, it's like there's ways for you to contribute your own expertise, and then imagine a community where everybody's doing that, right? There's just so many things to lean on, like everybody's kind of unique, kind of niche perspective or experience to bring to the table here. So kind of like a glorified consultation group here you can always go to and glean from the expertise of other therapists. The cool thing about e-courses, obviously we have to develop a model of like approval process for these things, but it could become a way to generate side income, because those things could be purchased. RCC would take a percentage, and then you would take a different percentage, depending on the quality of the course material and things like that. So we'll give you more information on those things, but just so you know the possibilities here. Okay. So let's look at this real quick. So if I go back to the dashboard, let's say I have, maybe you did a presentation in a course, like maybe you're in the child and adolescent diagnosis and treatment course in your university, or maybe you were in that class and now you've graduated and you did a presentation on working with children with ADHD or something. You could literally share that presentation with the community, and all of a sudden it becomes a really helpful resource for the rest of us if that's not our area of expertise. To do that in your dashboard, you always have this create content button, and then you just walk through each field here, giving it a title, and then you select a content type. You can do video, audio, document, or an article. All right, that's a way for you to just contribute to the resources. All right, so let's see. Let's move on to the last one here, okay? So for this one, we're going to call her Lena. Lena is considering starting her own private practice, but doesn't have the slightest idea about where to start. So through RCC's member database, she could search for other members who have started a private practice and ask them for some advice. Or she could also look for a group to see if people in the community are helping each other kind of figure out how to start private practice. And if there isn't one, she could even start her own group, because there's probably some other members in the community who would like to, but like her, don't really understand where to start. All right, so let's pretend we're Lena here for a second. So again, she's going to log in, see her dashboard, and she might go to the community and just look at the member directory. Right now, again, there's not very many people in here, but she could do a search and find people just to see, like, hey, who's gone before me in this road? And then, like, if I click here on, like, Andrew, I could direct message him and just ask him, hey, would you be willing to meet up for 30 minutes? I've got some questions about starting a private practice, and he'd be able to give me some of his insights. All right. So that'd be one way. Let's look at the, let's maybe look at some resources too. She might even just be like, what can I learn just from the content? So she could come to the content library, and she's going to get in here and be like, wow, there's like so much content. So if she filters, or even we'll just do search. She could just search business and filter this all down to content that has some way been tagged as business. And then she could kind of see, what's helpful in here. Why mental health therapists should learn business skills. How it seems like it might be beneficial for her. All right, so then she's got an article here with some helpful things to think about, and different resources, like ways to maybe audit some business courses. And then some helpful resources like working with a story brand coach or someone from Ramsey Solutions, like these might be things that she doesn't know exist, but just by doing a simple search, she can find some things that are going to take the ball down the field. All right. But let's look at the group here, and same thing as before. She can come in and search, look for group types. Maybe, there's nothing here that says business, but maybe special interest groups. What's here? Starting and growing a practice, right? I guess for business support, she might have even been able to see that filter option and look for business ownership. And it would probably filter the same exact one. Yep, starting and growing a practice. All right, so there's a group for that. Nobody's in it right now, but then she could join in and just start asking questions and sharing resources and figuring out what's working, what's not working, and be able to move forward. All right. So that's just kind of a brief walkthrough of the different things that are available. Like there's kind of two arms to this. There's the resource arm that's here for you to be resourced. A lot of that, what I shared was just for personal needs, but there's also a whole like clinical application to this too, like therapy resources and worksheets. Like if you need a client worksheet, there's all these different things in here. And you can just come in here and download a PDF on interpersonal effectiveness. And then you've got a really nice, helpful worksheet to help somebody who's dealing with some relational difficulties. All right. And these are things that we create and we also curate, but then also you have the ability to contribute to. So all of us have so many little tiny things that we've either learned through our own therapy, right, on our own journeys, and we want to now help our clients with, but we want, share that. That's a wealth of knowledge for the rest of us. And it's not necessarily things that you learn in a class in school, but it's a technique that somebody's doing and it's really working. So you can always come in here and find resources like that. Some of them are assessments, just educational handouts, things on spiritual formation, techniques and exercises, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to resource you for your own just personal well-being, but also effective clinical practice as a Christian counselor, and then get you connected to avoid that this we're kind of like, it's easy to get isolated, and we want to give you ways to kind of beat that and not fall into that. So those are what we're trying to accomplish here through resources and through community. Those are kind of the two arms of your membership here. All right. But that's kind of it for the walkthrough. I'll stop sharing my screen, and would love to have some questions from you guys. And Andrew and Melissa, you guys can kind of lead us through that.
I was going to say, I put something in the chat that many of those groups will have live meeting times. I'm blocking your face. I'm sorry. We'll have live meeting times, pre-scheduled even, and you can not just do the chat rooms, but you can meet with people like at a weekly time or a monthly time or whatever it is the group decides. So we'll have links within those groups so that you can do that.
And there'd be video calls that you could jump on just like this,
Right.
And each group would have its own link.
Yeah. And so the beauty of this is it becomes a refuge. I think the more and more people I talk to, the more and more say kind of the same thing I've been thinking for a long time. And that's the church is often skeptical and the field is often hostile towards Christian therapists. So we had a little bit of trouble with the link today, so there's not quite as many people as there might have been otherwise. But we want to create a space where Christian counselors can just come and be themselves, and other people can understand, and then they can gain resources and understanding and all sorts of benefits. So if you want to ask questions as to what Luke was talking about or anything else having to do with Remnant, we can try to answer those now.
Yeah, Luke, I have a question, and I'm not sure if it has been answered already, but is there an idea of doing a referrals for different counselors in the collective that have certain specialties? Or if I have a client that's moving out of state and wants a counselor for that to happen?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. You can use the member database to do that. So as a part of your sign up process, you're actually going to have to select different areas of specialty that you have, right? Or just interest areas. And what that's going to do is it's going to tag you as a community member in a very specific way so that other people can find you in that way for that exact reason, right? So if I need somebody who is an expert at working with clients struggling with OCD, like I need to be able to find really quickly, like who are my RCC buddies in here that are good with that, right? And then you can either refer that or get insight from them so I can continue working with them. Or if they're moving out of state, you're gonna be able to select what state you're from, and then you can filter the whole database down to RCC therapists who are in those states. So great question.
Yeah, and Jeremy, to your question too, we're actually in the process, because we're still creating some of these groups, but we're in the process of creating them for every state, and then it can be narrowed down by city. So you can even meet as a state group if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in, as an example of that, I'm in my hometown. I'm wanting to create a group for Christian therapists in my hometown, and just being able to refer to one another, have shared resources with referrals locally, and all kinds of ideas there. I also want, in what Luke was sharing, and we can still field questions here, but imagine where you have expertise. Just think about the clients you work with or your interests, and imagine that either you connect with others that share those interests, or you create a community around your experiences, expertise, geography, shared school. Maybe you're an alum of a program that you want to connect with others from that program, potentially even courses that you're in with others in the community here, if you're a student yourself. So just really think about the groups that you can be a part of and create, the resources that you might have that you can share, and even, like Luke had mentioned, eCourses that you could share and kind of behind a paywall get passive income for sharing the eCourse.
On that note, with eCourses too, like we already have a few courses in production for you guys from I think mostly CCU faculty right now, but those will hopefully grow, and we get some more of those from different experts in the field. But another thing we'll explore is getting continuing education credit for certain courses. So it could eventually end up growing into a place to get those CEs and stuff, but also a place for you to be able to generate your own courses as well.
Any other questions?
Yes, I got one quick question. As far as like, I know you walked us through different areas of the website. Like, would there be like videos that will like show you, like, just say for instance, a video on how to contribute, maybe in an article or a blog or something? Would those type of resources be available as well that will show you how to navigate certain?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. That's a great question. We have talked about developing some just simple how-to different things to help you make the most of your membership. So that's definitely a really high priority for us, because we don't want you to get in here and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. We want to resource you and equip you to actually find the benefit that's available to you. So we'll post, for one, all of those things to our YouTube channel, so you can always access and just look at the YouTube channel, which I'll put in the chat here for you guys. It'd be good for you to, there's not a lot there, but there's just going to be a lot more coming. But I'd encourage you to follow that, so that way you can always access it. So that's in the chat. But I'll also be sending out probably like an email campaign that's just focused on all of those different things, just simple how-to emails with videos walking you through. I've thought about even putting those into an eCourse, so you could go to the eCourse catalog and just take an eCourse on how to get the most out of your membership. So there's a lot of different ways that we'll get that to you, but definitely that's on our minds.
And then what's the cost of the membership? And then is it a monthly cost, or is it, hey, you pay every, 4 months, 6 months? What does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple options with that. There's the student membership, which is either $5.99 a month or $50 a year, and then the professional membership is, correct me if I'm wrong, $9.99 or $100 a year. And then if you're on a wait list, we'll give you 10% off the whole first year.
The other thing I want to add about that, thank you for that question, Renee, is that there's some potential to also have some access to eCourses. Like I'm going to be creating an eCourse I expect in April that I will give to RCC members. I'll give a discount for that course, so you may have some discounted information, as well as, of course, the free resources that come with the membership.
Yeah, in terms of kind of membership benefits, because there are things that you can access outside of a membership. Like we're probably going to make these gatherings available to the public for purchase, but if you're a member, you can always attend for free these community-wide gatherings. So and there will be teachings from we've got a kind of a growing list of people we'll lean on for different teachings and things like that. So those are 2 times a month. Those will be free to you, but paid to the public. Same with eCourses. You guys will probably get discounted eCourses. Depending on the eCourse, there may even be some free ones in there, I'd imagine. But all those would be paid to the public. Just, it's a business at the end of the day. So covering some costs and growing the business and things like that. So, so yeah, just different. We're trying to create value to the whole community, but then create added benefits to those of you who are members. So that way you have kind of a unique experience as a member.
Now, I'm not planning on opening up my own practice and meeting with clients until I graduate in May. And so is there a way to put myself on a waiting list and start in May instead of now?
Are you talking about your membership to Remnant Counselor Collective? You want to wait until you were to start your private practice before you were to join?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you, let's see, I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, right now our waitlist 10% discount it'll expire like the day of launch. So there's like an opening window of joining by the membership launch date to get the 10% discount right now, which is March 18th.
And if you join while you're still a student, you get like half the price in the first place.
That's right. Yeah.
Students are already paying enough. They don't need to pay that much more.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Luke, you did that good of a job.
Right. All right. I mean, it's hard to walk through all the things, but yeah, I think we covered a good amount of territory, and you guys can always email us with any more questions that pop up.
I want to share real quickly. A couple of years ago, I did a training with AEDP. It's Diana Foch's model, Advanced Experiential Dynamic Psychotherapy. It's a great model. Really love it. Their tagline is undoing aloneness with clients, undoing aloneness. And if I could borrow from and cite AEDP, I think that's part of our heart. We have so much collective wisdom and experience and the power of community in all kinds of ways, like what Luke was demonstrating. Maybe an area of struggle or an area of growth. I'm excited to be a part of spiritual disciplines and Bible studies. I kind of have that in mind with this project, and maybe shared experiences and expertise, et cetera, et cetera. And we want to undo aloneness, not just personally as Christian therapists, but professionally as Christian therapists. And so the more engaged our members are, the more all of us are contributing and involved, the richer the experience becomes for everyone. The shared resources, community groups, and engagement. So we are delighted and excited that you have all come this evening, and we cannot wait until the launch next month. And Luke, you said it March 18th.
Yep. March
And
18th.
if you haven't signed up for the wait list, if you're interested, Luke, I think you have some
Let's see.
URL.
And sign-ups start March 11th, right? That's we're opening it up then, and then the official hard launch is on the 18th.
Yeah.
So, because we didn't want people to sign up on the 18th and there were 2 people in there because people are still signing up. So that's the idea.
Yeah. So let's see. We can pull up the presentation. There's a few QR codes for you guys. But either way, I'm going to put some links in the chat for you. So the wait list. All right, waitlist link for 10% off is coming now. All right, so that's in the chat. And then I put the YouTube channel in there for you guys. We're also mostly on LinkedIn and Instagram, which would be great if you're able to, help us grow. Again, we mentioned this last time. The community is a much more rich experience for everybody if there's more members, right? Because a lot of what happens here is user generated as well. So spreading the word, definitely spread the word, and easy to do that on social media. So Instagram and LinkedIn.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, kind of to tag along with what Brian was saying. I think even kind of thinking back to the beginning of our conversation tonight about how a number of you mentioned kind of what fills your tank is those conversations with other clinicians, other people in the field. And that's really what inspired, for anybody who wasn't here at our first session, that's really what kind of cast the vision for me, was a conversation I had with a friend who's also a therapist, and just the unique way that it was really helpful for me. And then even seeing some of the faculty at CCU, as I had the chance to visit residency last summer, and the unique fellowship with other therapists and people in the field there, were some of the things that kind of inspired the idea for how could we help more counselors connect, especially thinking of people who may be in more isolated or remote areas or have less Christian counselors in their area. And that's really kind of our heart behind why we started RCC. So we're excited you're here and look forward to the opportunities we'll have to build relationships and help one another along the way.
Yeah. I remember the conversation well. Yeah. Hey, Luke, did you see that question from Amy in the chat?
I did not. Let's see.
It's kind of your area.
The post we can share. Great question. Let's see. Let me try and find. Oh, here, we'll do the on Instagram. I can give you guys a save the date post that you can share. Copy link. Here's a link you can share on Instagram. And then let me give you a LinkedIn one as well.
Luke, I've got another question while you're looking that up, and have you guys thought of giving like a group practice thing rather than individuals, where the group practice would be able to pay, $250 a year for everybody in the group to have access?
Yeah, good question. We have talked about that. It's been a recent topic of conversation. We haven't landed on numbers for that, but it makes sense that we would do some kind of group rate.
Yeah, there have been a few practices that have reached out and asked.
Yeah.
So, because the wait list is almost 400 now, so it's it's gaining some pretty good interest.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. Yeah, so those Instagram and LinkedIn posts are in the chat there for you.
I want to address, Kimberly, your question in the chat. First of all, thank you so much for offering to pray really just alongside us. And I'll tell you what's on my heart. Luke and Melissa and Andrew can share too, but community, first of all, and connection within our field. And we're praying for awareness too of RCC as a resource, as a place that we can gather and share. And then Christ's presence and his favor with us, the community, the entire community, as well as with this project that we're hoping that he can use to help build the community and connection that we're hoping to. So anyway, if you would be willing to pray alongside us, that would be so phenomenal. Thank you. Well, if there's nothing else, I just want to say thank you for everybody coming, and we look forward to many more future connections.
We should say the next one of these, though, is on April 1st. Is that right? That's the next one we're planning, but we might be doing like a special launch day thing, so stay tuned for that if we are able to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we'll send out an email about this next community meeting. All right, thank you all. Thanks so much. Have a great evening.